Welcome to the Modern Hippie Podcast, where we dive deep into illuminating discussions about psychedelics, holistic wellness, consciousness, unlocking our true potential, and so much more. I'm your host, Barrett Perlman, a former pro wakeboarder turned psychedelic breakthrough coach and healing guide. Together, we'll challenge boundaries, ignite our inner fire, and awaken to the infinite possibilities that life has to offer. This is not merely a podcast. It's an invitation to embrace a life brimming with authenticity and purpose. So get out your cosmic compass, open your hearts, and let's embark on this exhilarating journey of self-discovery and transformation together. Welcome to the tribe, my fellow modern hippie. Welcome back to the Modern Hippie Podcast. I am joined today by Equanimous, who is also known as one of my other favorites, Bliss Looper, and he is an American producer and DJ, as well as the label head and founder of High Vibe Records. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's my morning here, so please forgive me for still drinking my morning tea,
That is beautiful.
but it has mushrooms in it.
What kind of tea? What's the vibe?
Someone sent me the mud water, but it's like the
I
matcha
like
mud
that too.
water.
Sure.
So yeah, I put like more mushrooms in it because mushrooms are super my thing. And
Love that.
yeah, it's
Have you
getting
tried
me
high
going.
vibe mushrooms? The
Is that your
not
personal
not
mushrooms?
no, not having nothing to do with my brand. It's just they're very potent. Not
Mm,
psychedelic. They're just potent in terms of their um yeah, I don't know. I'll have like a teaspoon of it. It's a brand. They happen to be called High Vibe. That's how I found out
interesting.
about them, is because they reached out to me. But they're just potent. That's all.
Interesting. And they put like lion's mane, cordyceps, turkey
All that
tail,
stuff.
but
Yeah, yeah. Reishi, I think all
interesting.
of it. It's just very, like, when I had them, it was very like strong to the brain. I was almost like, whoa, I gotta like chill for a
Mm.
second.
That's kind of how I feel about mine because I do like there's a brand called Ohm that makes the mushroom blend, and so it's got just a
Oh
wide
yeah,
spectrum. So I put
yeah. I
a
know.
scoop of that, and then I'll have like my nootropic, which has some lion's mane in it as well, and then I have a microdose blend, and so that's got lion's mane and cordyceps in it as
Cool.
well, and then I'm like just mushrooms, all of the mycelium starts talking together in my body.
I love that. That's
So
so
pretty.
cool. That's so fun.
So I take it you do psychedelics.
From time to time.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
that what sparked your interest in the kind of music that you make? And for anyone who's listening that doesn't know, you make incredibly high vibrational music. Quite honestly, some of my favorite songs I've heard in recent years, especially one called Cellular Upgrade. I remember I heard that song, and it's this beautiful music with this beautiful woman singing about raising your frequency and like the love is the frequency. And um, it just blew my mind. I was like, wait, there's epic music out there that sings about all of the
Yeah.
spiritual concepts I'm into as well. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I do make that kind of music. um, I To answer the question, I would assume that the experiences that I have had on psychedelics have shaped some of my music, mainly because it's shaped my person. I
Mm,
don't often do I don't really do hero doses anymore. If I take psychedelics, it's at very low doses, like very low amounts, like just micro. I used to, for sure, when I was younger. Um, I've spoken about this publicly before, but after I did Iboga, I
mm.
which was probably at this point maybe like 5 years ago. I don't know. I think 6 years ago. No,
Wow.
maybe even more. I don't know. Whenever I did it, I kind of took a pause on needing to like go trippy, you know, and I
Mm.
kind of received the medicine that I needed, which was very much like go do your dharma. And since then, I've sort of been um, avoidant of, like, ceremonial things like ayahuasca and San Pedro and things like this, where like I would still be open to dabbling. I just, you know, I think I've gotten myself to a place within my person that I feel very um, satisfied with how my own being is vibrating. And of course, you know, if things come up or whatever, they, you know, they need to be, if I need to heal or whatever, if anything comes up, um, you know, where maybe in the past I would have been like, oh, I got to just like go to the woods and like do some medicine and things like this. Now I'm kind of like, all right, let me just feel that. And just kind of, yeah, healing now through, um, I would say my two main kind of healing modalities right now are just like feeling. So meditation, I would call that just like feeling
Mm,
what things feel like and letting them kind of like be and then pass, and celebration and healing through celebration. And I definitely do still,
mm,
and that's when I like would do a microdose is more in this state of like celebration. Um, so yeah, and I do think it's definitely impacted my music for sure because it's expanded my mind, which has brought me to, I think, both energetically with my music, like this the sonic vibrations, and as well as the lyrical content, to have a very sort of direct and focused message of, as you say, you know, high vibes, love, positivity, um, you know, authenticity, all that.
mm. I love the what you've created with healing through celebration. I'm not sure if that's a term I just haven't been turned on to yet, but it's
I just made it up. I mean, I've said it for years. You know, my like MO is bringing the consciousness to the party and bringing the party to consciousness. And
mm,
I think a lot of times, like in the healing world, people are so focused on trauma and healing, and they, um, a lot of times, like, you know, they're almost practicing pain by, um, needing to like, you know, up level their being in certain ways, which is good. I think it's really good to up level your being, you know, and it's good, especially when it comes organically. But I do feel like, at least for myself, I used to seek out, how can I heal? How can I be better? You know, I was, instead of just like feeling the feelings that I had, I was using those feelings to take action to change myself so that I would be comfortable with those feelings, which I think is natural. It's a natural thing that we do. You know, when we feel negativity or pain or something, it's like a sign to do something to change that. You know, it's like, oh, something's not right. It's our emotional guidance system. So I think there's like definitely a place for that, but to also balance that with like dharma and like mission, you know, especially as someone who's very mission based, um, I think is very important and valid. And so for me, I find that, and I have found, and I would actually, you know, make the argument to those, to really any human, that if you take a look at your life, the times that have been the most healing, I would assume, probably are through celebration. Now, I know that like, I'm sure there are very like, I know I have had really healing times through like going into my shadow and my wounds and like clearing it and like doing all of that. And that is very healing.
mm.
But there's an aspect of that, like the actual healing part of that is kind of celebratory, you know? And so I feel like celebration is authentic celebration. I'm not talking about like, let's celebrate. It's my birthday. I don't want to go out. No, but it's your birthday. You got to celebrate. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like genuine celebration and genuine joy. And that's where I find that healing and joy is really, um, they're tied. And for me, joy and bliss is where I have found my greatest, you know, healing from. Um, that is after I've like gone into my wounds and healed this and done this and taken the ceremony and do this and, you know, done all the workshop things, you know, all that. I think that like the next kind of evolution, or what I found, at least for myself, is healing through celebration.
I love that. It's really a following of your blisscipline, like
I
staying
like that.
focused a bit on,
Discipline.
yeah,
That is a good
following the
one.
bliss.
Yeah,
And
bliss
it
approach.
has that uplifting effect. I mean, I had this just really chaotic experience a few weeks ago on Pharmahuasca, which is the when you take DMT orally, it's like the pharmacy version of
Yeah,
ayahuasca.
I actually tried that.
And it,
Aubrey
oh,
introduced me
dude,
to that. Aubrey Marcus
tell
is
me,
like, yeah, anyways, I was just like, what is this? I'm curious, what was your experience like on the ayahuasca?
oh gosh. Well, I'm curious about yours. Um,
I mean, I
it
was at
was
Burning Man and it was mixed with a bunch of other stuff, so I don't even know, honestly.
okay.
Yeah.
It was I had tried it 2 times before and I hadn't taken enough DMT the 2 times before to really have an experience. So this time I took 300 milligrams, which I had read on Reddit would be like a breakthrough
Yeah.
dose. And it was it was rough. Like the first onset was so much it really fried my nervous system that I couldn't. So I also trained with Maestro Hamilton down in Peru and
Oh yeah.
focused on navigating the dimensions and traveling and using like your brain heart as GPS coordinates and really
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
on navigating that space for the work that I do. And could barely sit up. I could barely. It was just like an overwhelming amount of the experience was happening to me, and I kind of came out of that first one being like, "Shit, that was rough. I need to train harder." And then it wore off for like an hour and a half, and then it completely ramped back up again. Like I went from
Whoa.
zero visuals to full blown visuals, and now I'm in like a full blown ayahuasca phase, which I called stage two. And that stage was
Yeah,
really fun. I started like laughing with my dog. I started working out concepts with my business. I really tapped in and renegotiated some things with my wealth frequency and abundance frequency. And then it
that's good.
took a turn for the worst. And I went into
Yeah,
stage three and I just started vomiting everywhere, vomiting all over myself. I barely made it into the bathroom where I just sat for at least, I mean, my boyfriend kind of had a time schedule going. So I think it was really only like an hour and a half I was in the bathroom, I was in the bathroom,
that's still solid.
um, dying. Yeah, vomiting and dying and transcending the dimensions and sitting there and the energy of my bufo facilitator came and was sort of walking around reminding me everything's okay. I'm sitting there dying and living all at the same time, becoming other consciousnesses, living through their lives, dying, and the consciousnesses kept getting less primitive and less primitive until eventually
Yeah.
I'm like a blinking cursor on a screen. And it really got me to a place where it stripped my actual will to live from me.
Whoa. Did you have to like integrate that after?
Yeah. Um, and this I mean, for days after I was crying, I had gone into the ceremony kind of in a not great mental state, hoping to get some breakthroughs out of it, which I felt like I was
Yeah,
getting in stage two. And by the end of stage three, I was so much worse off than I was. And luckily, I do integration work as a practice. I guide others through integration work. And so I also have a lot of friends who are very much in that space too. And it was a lot of really deeply understanding that this next chapter of my life that I'm stepping into required such a shedding of parts inside of me that I didn't even know were there that couldn't come with me. And so
wow.
all of that dying must have happened 12 times. I mean, I almost went and got my partner who had actually thought of the idea to trip sit for me on this occasion, to be like, please sit with me. I'm afraid I might actually die.
Damn.
And yeah, he had to like, I couldn't get up. I went crawling out of the bathroom and he had to help me into the shower, help me take off my
Glad
clothes. I
you're
couldn't.
okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
Have you
fine.
sat with a
Um,
boga?
I haven't. Do you want to tell me about Iboga?
Well, I only bring it up because the only time where I wasn't able to move was a boga. It was really
Mm,
intense. I would not recommend boga unless you're like you've got like some real shit you need to like, either you're really called to it, you got some real stuff you got to work on. It's intense. It's not like any other medicine. It's very physical. Um,
mm,
Definitely can't move for, I mean, like hours, days even. Took me months to integrate.
wow.
Uh, yeah, I guess the way you were describing that reminded me of when I was, like you need help to go to the bathroom. Someone's got to like you can't move your body. You're like, relatively
Yeah.
paralyzed. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But
And I
it's like,
sat on that bathroom floor for 20 minutes staring at the shower before I decided the only way I was going to get in there was if someone helped me, and I was covered in my own vomit. So I was like,
good
I
for you
have to
though for
shower.
asking for help. It's good for you
I
for asking for help. Like, I
guess
think
that's what he
that's,
was there
you
for.
know, yeah.
Yeah. But and I'll preface this also for anyone who's listening that's not already one
Yeah,
of
we just
my
went right in. We
subscribers
just went right
that
in.
I'm a medicine facilitator and a psychonaut. And so, for me, part of the journey with medicine is learning all of the different colors that someone can experience so that it makes me a better facilitator to be able to sit with someone and all of the different things that can come up. Like, I've had some challenging trips before, and I'm usually the first one to come out of a challenging trip laughing and being like, wow, that was fucking awful. Ha 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 ha. Um, I came out of this one crying for days. And
All right, damn.
yeah, but interesting to hear you
Okay.
say that about Iboga because I've been kind of drawn to it lately. And I just keep watching it and being like, I don't know. I,
It's just
I'm
a
not
lot.
like
Like,
compelled.
it takes so much time. Like, like I would just, if you're gonna do it, just make sure you have like lots of time after to integrate. Like
Hmm.
lots of it.
Yeah.
That's really the best thing I can say about it. I mean, I'm grateful I did it for sure, but
Seems to be
just
really helpful for a lot of people.
oh yeah, I mean it's life changing. It's like nothing else. I mean, it's just like so physically different. Like it's just like it felt like ripping out like the root connections I had from like my gut to my head, just like ripping them out, just like purging it, crying it, just like
Mm.
just so much. It's just like all of the pain, just like coming right out. But
Wow.
it was helpful overall.
It's interesting to me too because when I was in that third stage and I was sitting there dying, and there was just kind of like this lotus flower over me, this energetic lotus flower beating as I felt like I was dancing the line between life and death. Like in 1 second I was alive, and 1 second I was dead, and it just ticked tock back and forth, back and forth. And what came to me in that moment was Iboga, that
Whoa,
somehow this was like and I was like, I've never done Iboga. Why would I make that association? I mean, I've done Bufo, so I was like, maybe I'm getting attached to the natural medicine aspect of what was happening. But it
yeah.
kept coming to me of like, this is kind of what people go through in Iboga. And I was like, oh shit,
Whoa.
do I? Oh. But so I
Maybe
really
maybe
started
it's
to look into it.
maybe it's just like the hit you need so that if you are talking with someone or you're helping someone integrate with a boga, you can be like, oh, this is what they kind of, that's like a little taste or whatever.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
We just
Leaning
went in.
harder into the yeah. Yeah, so I've been just trying to lean in a little more to the coaching
Yeah.
aspects of my business. I'm a psychedelic breakthrough coach, so leaning
Oh,
into
cool.
helping people work with the medicine to achieve that next level, and kind of goes
That's
along
good.
with what you were talking about. Yeah, thanks. With what you were talking about earlier, with like not getting trapped in the healing and the traumas, but having and finding actionable steps to navigate how to have those with you and how to have them not like take over your life all the time.
Totally. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good medicine.
I'm gonna start exploring that celebration as well. So that's what, after the Pharmahuasca, the following
Yeah.
weekend, was already committed to another ceremony for something called Psilometoxin. And
Oh
it
yeah, so
is,
I actually
oh,
played
sweet.
their I played at their at the Symphony like event. Like they're like they had like a celebration, I guess, in Austin, and they flew
Cool.
me out there and I met all those guys. They're super nice people. I like them a lot, actually.
Fun.
I
Well,
just
this
did
was with someone
a little bit.
here who, what do you think of it as a medicine? What are your visions like?
I haven't done a lot. I've only microed on it, so I don't know
Mm,
if I'd be the best person for that because I like right now in my life I'm like super committed to reality, to like this reality at least.
mm,
You know, and so, I mean, I guess this reality also includes other realities, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. It felt like it almost felt like, I mean, if to me, it felt like a little bit of like if you were to take like a mushroom, like some psilocybin with like, you know, maybe like an MAOI or something. I don't know. It was like,
Hmm.
it was cool. I don't, what did you like it? Did you do like a hero dose or something?
Well, so my facilitator here in LA gets it from the church in Austin,
Cool.
and I opted for the biggest dose he would serve, which I think
Damn,
ended up
how
being
much?
about well, it was about 3 grams, which is a pretty
Woo!
small dose for me. But
Three
even when I was
grams
in
of
the medicine, I was like, you
Symphony.
know what? Yeah, it felt like, I mean,
Like a
I do
lot.
3 grams with my clients. That's like my workspace is 3 grams. Yeah,
Of
it's intense, but
Sylvatoxin?
I haven't worked with Psilometoxin yet.
Oh,
Um,
got it. Oh, I was gonna say
but
3 grams of Sylvatoxin. A lot.
I guess they say every time it sort of hits people differently. Like some people have had like 1 gram and had this full blown experience. Some people have had 3 grams
Right.
and had nothing happen. It can kind of be across the board. But for me, it was a really beautiful experience. Like one I would attribute more to like 2.5 grams of penis envy, for instance, where
Uh-huh.
there were just beautiful visions. I wasn't really debilitated in any sense. And I got to connect with the consciousness of my partner and really hash out some things that were going on between us.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
all of my visions were very pink and purple, which was a really unique characteristic to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, interesting. I
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
all I
know.
got for it too.
My whole thing about like a lot of these medicines is that, I guess not my whole thing, but one of the things about these medicines is they feel to me like the impact of the set and setting is and can be drastic in
Mm,
in relation to the experience. So,
yes.
you know, like you mentioned you saw pink and purple. When I hear that, I'm like, sure, maybe that has something to do with the medicine, but it could also happen to do with like the vibration of the walls you were near, even if they were white or something. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like just, or like your partner's aura that day was like vibrating in a way that like spurred that or something. So it's hard for me to like,
totally.
you know, tie things like that into the actual medicine. But I think that if you like do that medicine in like five other scenarios that are completely different and like pink and purple keeps coming up, you're like, whoa, there's something there, you know, that your body's like relating to that medicine in
Yeah.
pink and purple. It's crazy. I like just got
That's a
this
great
hit right
observation.
now. Yeah, anyways, well, that's for another time. But that's cool. That's dope.
Yeah, I've noticed that too when I do like more daytime medicine. I tends to be, because there's all this white background behind it. I tend to get very like bohemian colors, so I'll get a lot of turquoises that come through and vibrant colors. I did some ketamine therapy at a friend's house during the day one time, and they had very white walls, and I kept being in locations in my visions that were reminiscent of like tropical Bahamian waters or Cuba, or like the colors were vibrant and um, definitely what I would attribute to the setting of where I was, being that
Yeah,
bright
sure.
coloration. But yeah, so that Psilometoxin ceremony, because it was a mellow dose for me, because I embraced just like letting the medicine take me where it wanted, because I didn't want a heroic dose in any way, shape, or form after the weekend before.
Right.
I got a chance to also, I was in a group with people I'd never met before. And I got a chance to walk around the property afterwards, which was tucked away in Topanga Canyon, which is really beautiful, and
Yeah.
watching people play and looking at nature. And it really re-instigated my own body's celebration, essentially. And it really opened up my channels. And it happened after the medicine kind of wore off, that all of a suddenly my spirit was starting to play again. My spirit was coming back to life, and I like tapped back in. And so I think it was exactly
Oh,
that celebration energy that you're talking about, that play that really
that's awesome.
brought all of the healing that I needed. And I've been tapped into my authenticity ever since. It's been like a month now.
That's super cool. I'm glad that you had
Yeah,
that kind of celebratory integration. Mhm.
thank you. And so, are you into Buddhism as well?
I used to be a lot. You know, the thing about Buddhism that I think is a good tool to have, but not necessarily one to just surrender your whole life to, is that,
Mm,
Buddhism really focuses on emptiness. And um, it's a beautiful thing to focus on emptiness and nothingness, because I think that the more nothingness and emptiness one can experience in the human body, the more beauty that they can experience, because they feel the difference there. It's like polarity. They can feel all that beauty coming in. However, I think that if you get like attached to nothingness, then you're not feeling that beauty. Um,
mm,
you know, as a male-bodied specimen, um, the human male body on a biological level is um, often actually striving towards emptiness. And what I mean by that on a biological level is we are wired, right, like to procreate. Like our both, I mean, male and women are sorry, male and female are both wired to procreate. And after one, ejaculates their seed, right, as a man, uh, there's emptiness there. And so that is what a male is working
mm,
towards on a biological level, in a very strange way, is this emptiness. And so I think that it's that Buddhism is a very important tool, because it allows us to resonate and be comfortable with nothingness and emptiness. But I think it's important that we don't strive for that to be our like I don't think we should limit the beauty just to be nothing. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
And so for me,
Yeah.
I like, and obviously, like, the word equanimous, comes from Goenka, who's a a teacher of Vipassana, or Vipassana meditation. Um, and so it's within that spectrum. But I really just feel like it's sort of a tool to be used, and a good one at that.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that. I'm studying something called Planetary Dharma under Dr. John Churchill, who I discovered through Aubrey as
Oh,
well,
cool. What is
and
that? Yeah, yeah.
he really has gotten this sect of Buddhism that he created, blessed by the Dalai Lama, that ties together everything. So it's Buddhism, and it's also magic, and it's also plant medicines, and it's also embracing an evolution of the times, because he believes, and the bodhisattva, the path is really about becoming timeless. And how can you become timeless if you're not evolving with the times and the needs of the times? And so
Right. Wow.
yeah, I'm in a 4-year long training program with him, and we're really tapping into the calming of the mind, but also the opening of the dimensions of the heart, and really discovering which ways our heart is blocked or not blocked, and how that affects the energy channels, and feeling like the oceans of loving awareness around us all the time, and essentially then extending our cognitive abilities out into the meta field. So essentially deepening your metacognitive awareness, and through that then sitting deeper in the different dimensions that are around us all the time, and starting to read the different fields coming off people. And um, so it's a really like
Wow.
different evolved version of Buddhism that I'm personally studying at the moment, that I think
Yeah,
is
I can sense that your field, like your own energetic field, is like it's super exposed. Like you've been like not
hmm,
exposed, like you're not being exposed, but like you've like felt lots of different, like it's big, you've like gone in different
Thanks.
places. I'm really sensing that from you. It's super awesome. Honestly, it's reflecting really cool things within my own system, um,
Mm,
which is really cool. Thanks.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
It- it's funny to hear you say. I'm glad to know that you're kind of like in Aubrey's circle because my partner is friends with him, and I haven't met him yet, but he's been like this guiding force of my whole life. Like because of
Oh
him, I
wow.
have my
I don't
mentor
know if I'm in his
Hamilton.
circle. I
You don't
wanted
know
to
if
start
what?
because I don't know if I'm in his circle. I'm like, I mean, I've met him before. We like hung out at
Mm,
Burning Man a couple times, but that was it. Like I don't, and I know Vylana just from music and stuff, but you know, it's really only been those couple times. I want to play basketball
gotcha.
with him. That's what I want to do next. But yeah, but I'm not like definitely. Yeah, I don't think I not yet at least. I mean, I don't know how the flow of life will be, but yeah, as of now, I don't. I
Hmm.
that's just where I'm at. But I like
Well,
him. He's a
let
super
me
nice guy.
expand that out then.
Yeah, expand on that, please.
Let me
Sorry.
expand that
Yeah,
out then because I feel like anyone who listens to his podcast regularly, like we're all sort of in his circle a bit, like you get
sure.
turned on
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the different people that he has on, you get turned on to the music, you subscribe to the ideas and they help you heal. And it's like, why would you not continue to subscribe to more? And so, I mean, for me personally, he gave me my two mentors I have right now, Maestro Hamilton and Dr. John Churchill. And then my
Oh,
partner
amazing.
also created the cover art for him and the art for Vylana. So I met
Oh,
my
cool.
boyfriend because of Aubrey as well. And I was watching his latest, one of his recent episodes with Makad Brooks talking about going to Egypt and the
Yeah.
things that they experienced there and what Matthias de Stefano did to kind of get the energy to come out of the temples and uh, experience them, and the different entities that they channeled. And for the first time for me, I was listening to this podcast and I was starting to get additional information from the field that they weren't talking about, which is new for me. And so
Right.
I don't know.
What
Do
did
you have
they What did they
experiences like
say?
that where
Oh, sorry. You ask your question first, and then I'll ask mine.
do you have experiences like that where people start telling you things and now, I mean, I'm starting to put the pieces together. It's kind of like being connected to the Akashic records, which I don't know how to go to and read, but drawing the information in from the unified field and essentially understanding more about what someone is saying without them having to tell you more of the details.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. I think that,
Mm,
the human body listens in lots of ways. We listen through our ears and process words, and then those words go into our brain and they make us feel things. We listen by looking and seeing
right.
what we see, and all of our senses, really. And then we listen by feeling, which has, we can feel in multiple ways. We can feel what we feel on the inside and the outside. Um, what we and then there's like this like vibrational, more subtle kind of listening, which is also, I would say, through like a different kind of feeling. And I do think that codes can be passed on and exchanged that way, and I'm feeling that with you right now. And yeah, I guess the answer is yes. I have experienced that quite a bit.
Yeah. Interesting.
I
I mean, for
recently
me, it's
did
a
a
little different from like the clair senses, right? The claircognizance and the visions and the
yeah.
seeing. It's like a yeah.
Yeah, I think it's how you
Sorry, I
interpret it.
cut you off.
I was gonna say I recently. No, it's okay. I don't know if there might be a slight delay. I recently did a theta healing, like where someone did like a theta on me, which deals with like more subtle energies like that. It reminded me of that. But yeah, I think that in general, it's really just how we as humans process. Everyone processes differently. I am curious. My question was just because I'm curious, but I mean, I could totally just listen to it myself. But I'm curious if there was like a couple of like nuggets from that podcast, like with the Egypt, that they kind of shared that they felt like, or some big thing or whatever.
Sure. I'll preface it's not really my stories to share, but I'll share them anyways
Right, that's
because they
fine.
shared them publicly. Um, Matthias, they were at this temple, and he was put his hands on the walls and was channeling, and some sort of being overtook him. And so he was kind of running around doing things, touching things. And the guards were trying to be like, hey, don't do that. And realized that he was channeling something. And so they kind of backed off.
Whoa.
And Makad went up to the walls and was all of a sudden like he felt like he slid across the floor and immediately put his hand on a hieroglyphic and kind of discovered in that moment that the hieroglyphics were really meant to be touched. They were meant to be used as, I don't know, when you touch them, something happens. And so
Whoa.
whatever Matthias was doing made the walls start vibrating as if there was like a subwoofer inside of them that made them start doing that. And as he had his hand on the wall and it started vibrating, he all of a sudden got this download of all of the minerals, connection with all of the minerals and everything that made up the wall. And understanding that connection then through his body, all of the minerals inside of him. And almost like if he were to continue to stay in that connection, he was going to begin to understand how to manipulate the minerals. And I think if anyone follows Matthias De Stefano, he to this day has a ability to channel the rain, and used to in past lives be a, I think he was a water worker, where they
Like he
could,
can make
you know,
it rain?
it's been, yeah, Matthias in this reality, in this 2023, he, if you go to an event with him, he will bring in the rain clouds and make it rain as like a
Whoa,
proving of his abilities.
that's
Yeah,
so cool.
it's way rad. And so I guess as a past life as an Atlantean, he was there were different sects of people, like different unions, guilds, different guilds. And he was
Yeah.
in one where they learned to harness water. And so that was how rocks would get cut. That was how engravings would go into walls that seem way overly precise for the times. They would whistle it with water and control it. The water would become like this razor sharp blade. And so I think what Makad
Whoa.
was beginning to understand was how to do that with earth minerals, right? And then I guess something happened, and Matthias screamed and got flung off of his feet, like completely off the ground, off his feet, slammed into the wall behind him, like knocked out temporarily, like all the air of him knocked out, everything. Like the guard comes running over, like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And Makad's like, "Holy
Yeah.
shit! Like I am a television actor. Like if this would have happened on television, this would have taken 10 takes to get right. Like what just happened?" And yeah, so
Whoa.
something like came through and shot him across. And Matthias is like, "I'm fine. Like what are you guys so worried about?" You know, but like he should have been like seriously injured
Yeah.
perhaps. So that was just like one of the smaller stories of what they encountered on this Egypt trip. So it's like a 3 hour long episode. I'd highly recommend it. There's a lot of
Fascinating. Yeah, yeah.
information.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll have to check it out.
Have you been to Egypt yet?
No, I know. I mean, I assume I'll get there at some point, but it just hasn't been the right time. And
Mm.
also, I'm
I mean,
like
I'd
I
like to
said,
go.
I'm super Dharma focused right now. So like, if I'm going to travel somewhere, it's going to be for a show. But
Mm.
I do think that at some point I will go. I just don't know when.
Do a show in Egypt.
Well, no, I don't know if I'll do a show there. For Egypt, I would just go to go. I don't know if I want to do a show in Egypt. I would just want to go.
Yeah.
That would be like one of the few places that there's like a couple places that I just want to go to. Like there's three, basically like the three main places that I would kind of just like go to go is Egypt, Iceland, and then randomly the Galapagos,
Mm.
just because I've always wanted to go there since I was a kid. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, in time, maybe it would be something where like if I had a show that I was like flying out somewhere, I would like stop by Egypt on the way back or something. I know it doesn't work like that, but you know what I mean.
Mm. Just quick detour.
Yeah.
So tell me how you got into creating music that is so high vibrational and spiritual. Like,
Yeah.
tell me.
I appreciate that. I think it started when I remember the moment. I was in actually, I was in a class in college. It's funny now that I think about it. And it was like a music industry class, and where we like interview someone, and someone was showing us a video of Sigaros. Do you know Sigaros?
Mm. No, I don't.
Like, okay, so Jonsi is the main singer, from amazing group from Iceland, and he's just channeling like freaking pure bliss, but through like rock music. And I was like,
Mm.
whoa, what is this? I've never heard anything like this. And that sound is what kind of awakened me, whatever the word is there, to this vibe. And from there, I just kind of kept following the vibration of this just like pure, like delightful bliss where it's so
Mm.
overwhelming that it just makes everything amazing. And yeah, just kind of been following that, and doing my own version of it. And yeah, getting more into like orchestral sounds to be able to replicate that. But I also love to
Mm.
make people dance is the thing. So there's this like sound that I'm kind of hybriding between, and really just honing it and honing it and honing it, which is like this orchestral beauty mixed with, you know, so I'm
Hmm.
still figuring it out, honestly, but that's where the desire comes from.
Well, I love listening to your attempts at figuring it out. They're incredibly moving. And
That
and so you have two different names that you put music out by. What inspired you to also have Bliss Looper?
Yeah, well, Bliss Looper is just super easy and fun, and there's no pressure. So Equanimous
Mm.
is like, all right, I gotta, have an agent, I've got to do these things. It's like, I'm very calculated. Bliss Looper is like, oh, I just want to make some music right now. Let me just like do it, and I'll just like make it, and it's like super chill. Like I'm not super focused on like amazing intricate beats or anything. It's just pretty. It's like, and so I'm like, all
Hmm.
right, done. Make a song in a couple hours with Bliss Looper. It's like done. With Equanimous, it's like, all right, this has been working on this for like 2 years. Bliss Looper's like, all right, did it in a couple hours, done. Let's just put it out. Hopefully people like it. Um, I don't like do any Bliss Looper social media or anything like that either. It's just really for like yoga music and people who, like to listen to pretty music. Um, and which is hilarious because there was a time when Bliss Looper was actually getting more streams than Equanimous. Now things have kind of changed. Yeah, it's just honestly just fun. And then it's funny because it ends up, providing me some income too with those streams, which is
Nice.
interesting. But yeah.
And how was it creating your own label?
Um, that I felt like I, I had a desire to do it. I had a desire to like be able to help artists and be able to share good music, but I did not have a desire to do all the work to get to that point. And
Mm.
so like it was an idea I had in 2017. I didn't really do anything for it for about until COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, I was like, oh man, no live shows. What am I going to do? And I had also
Mm.
signed a contract with my grandfather that my grandfather was like, Nate, you need to make money and support your family. And, if you have a family someday, you got to support them and all these things. And I'm super grateful he did that, honestly, because he made me sign a contract that basically said, like, if I don't have a sustainable income from music by a certain date, then I would quit.
Oh.
And then I would just have to be a hobby. And I signed that contract.
Mm.
Luckily, I am now sustainable with it. But
Right.
um, I think like the motivation for signing that contract, and then also the fact that the world was shut down for a little bit, sort of inspired me to be like, okay, now's the time, just freaking do it. And so I was working like 16-hour days for probably a year, and eventually I got the label to a place where it was making enough to pay for a part-time employee and a full-time employee. And so now it's just like all the money that I've gotten from it, for the most part, I sort of just put back in, and now I just have people running it, and my only job, for the most part, besides consulting with it here and there, is to just say yes or no to music. And so I have kind
Ah,
of achieved, you know, at least my first goal there with it. I think, next goals is to kind of expand in a nice organic way. Um, but I feel grateful to at least be where I'm at with it. Um, and yeah, that's kind of like how it came to be.
very cool. Did you have any like self-limiting beliefs around the possibilities while you were building it that you had to overcome?
Um, no, I think
Nice.
I probably had some of like personal self-limiting beliefs, but in terms of the label, because I was so unattached to it, like it's not my biggest passion is Equanimous. It's my music. I mean, it's bigger than Equanimous. It's my music, you know. Um,
Mm,
Helping other people and their music is something that I want to do. It's definitely a desire, but like, you know, if someone like if there was a super aligned being that I truly trusted who was like, hey, here's $100 million for High Vibe Records. You can still, Nate, you can still have some say over what songs are in or what songs are not in. And like, here's a little bit of a royalty cut or something, but I want to buy this. I would probably say yes, because with $100 million, that would probably help the label even more and help all these artists
mm,
even more. Um, but I say that because if someone came to me and was like, "Hey, I want to buy all of your music and all of the music that you make for the future," I would say no. At $100 million, would I say no though? Yeah, I'd still probably say no or I would like try to renegotiate where I could still make music or something. But the point of what I'm saying is like I need to be able to always make music. That is I mean, need, but I don't know, if need is the right word. But I have an extremely strong desire to always make music. But I don't have an extremely strong desire to run a record label. Just a desire to do that. This is so I'm
right.
sharing that because there's a lot less energetic weight and pressure on it. So because there's that, there's not like those, self-limiting beliefs, like being like, oh, you got to do this or this or this. And to me, I just view self-limiting beliefs as like redirected energy. It's like slightly misguided, where I think that there's still something there. There's like a message to be learned there to push you in a certain direction. It's just maybe because of your past or trauma or whatever, it's like getting amplified. And so,
Hmm.
um, yeah. And also like the stuff with Iboga really did like clear out my system in a lot of ways where, I guess my system feels clear, um,
Mm.
or clear enough, we'll say.
What instruments do you play the most?
um, Definitely piano the most. I mean, now,
Okay.
um, in my life, I still probably piano. Everything's been piano. I mean, I started as a drummer and I love to play the drums. Um, I'm probably the most proficient at, I don't know, actually, maybe piano at this point. Probably piano, but drums still like is like rooted in my core. And I was a guitar, I taught guitar lessons for like 10 years. So guitar is very, present there as well, and bass, and um, I can also play a little saxophone, little things here and there, but I would say the most is piano.
Nice. I grew up playing piano and guitar as well, and
Oh,
flute,
nice.
and I'm
Wow.
starting now to
Flute's
have
a
this
hard.
calling to like, yeah, but I'm getting called back into it. A lot of the music I listen
Beautiful.
to, specifically this guy David Halpern, does these beautiful flute music, and I'm just like, ah, I think I want to play the flute again.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
great. You should.
yeah, it should. You're right. Proper use of the word should. Yeah, so I get like I play singing bowls, so I get at least C, D, E, F, G, A, B out of my system
That's great.
often.
Some of my favorite
But
notes.
right, I love all the flat ones personally, like flat
Sure. No,
notes
me
and
too.
making all the different chords. Um, what are you working on right now that you're super excited about?
I'm working on an orchestral album, and I'm not giving myself a timetable or anything. I'm just doing it in flow. Basically, yeah, it's so good. Oh my God, it's so good. But it's like so, I mean, I have like 25 different concepts right now that I'm kind of building out. Not sure what I'm going to take or not. I most likely will add more concepts. It feels like such a big thing. It feels like my Grammy award winning album, and so I don't know when it's going
Mm,
to come out or not. I mean, I will or not. It's going to come out. I really hope it's going to come out. But I don't. It feels like a big project, so I'm kind of just taking my time with it. And if it comes out in a couple of years, that's when it comes. And in the meantime, I'm still building myself and doing all these things. But that's kind of like you know what I'm most excited about, I would say.
cool. And with a big project like that, do you go about structuring the album where the entire thing has a flow, or are you more song specific? How do you
It's
craft a
it's
big project
it's
like
just
that?
like it's kind of like I'm holding a container within myself of what it is, and like I can feel it, like I can feel it
Mm,
inside of me, and it's becoming more and more clear inside of me as the days go on. And as it becomes more clear, then I get to work with reality to, you know, express that vision. And so it's there and there's a flow there. I just am kind of like figuring out how to make it into a thing that people can actually listen to.
yes. I love that when you get like creative visions and you see them kind of in the fourth dimension. And then it's like, how do I just pull that into here, pull it into reality?
Right.
That's how I look at a lot of my
Yeah,
projects.
no, that's a cool way to conceptualize it. For me, it's not like out there; it's in here.
Mm,
It's inside.
so you're like,
And so, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
cool. And so you're touring right now.
I'm touring. I'm touring for the foreseeable future, honestly. Um, I do have some time off this summer, which I'm like super excited about. I'm just gonna hang out at my lake house. Um, but for now, yeah, for now, which I'm hoping to purchase. I really want to buy this property, but I don't know if they'll. I mean, I gotta like talk to them. It's not like it's for sale yet or anything. So it's more of just like me wanting it. But it's great because it's on a lake and it's just like so nice to live on a lake. But we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
what happens. I think he might be open.
Do you wakeboard or wake surf?
No, but I love to just be around and in the water, and it's sort of in my blood. Even my father, my father's 70 years old, and to this day, he still will swim like 4 times a week. We'll go swimming every morning. So, we're not every, but most mornings. And so just like being in the water is, I'm a Pisces, just like all that. It's just like I love um, being around water, and it's not even about being in it. I just like water around. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
like there to be an option for water, even if I'm not there. Just the vibe of like being, like one of my favorite houses I ever lived at. I had like if I looked out my window, it was just like pool, and even that, it's like pool is nothing compared to a lake. I mean, a lake with the nature and all of it, it's just like so much better. But even just being
Yeah.
around water really enlivens my soul. So my intention is to just continue to be around water, um, in my home life at least.
Mm. Oh, I feel that so deeply. The lake used to be my office when I was a pro wakeboarder, and
Oh,
now
you're a
that I'm
pro
not, like now I live.
wakeboarder?
That's why I was like, "Do
Dropping
you wakeboard?
it. Right.
Am I coming to visit?"
Yeah, yeah, it's hilarious. No, I mean,
Uh,
it's a cool spot for that, but I can't say that I have done that much.
yeah, but that water is just, you're right. It's so peaceful. And I think it goes back to being in the womb. Like the first thing that our consciousness knew how to do in this world was float
Right.
and float inside the womb. And so it just puts us back in that natural state of like being wrapped in, for me, being wrapped in safety and love and warmth. I understand some people have had
I love that.
traumas with water. That's not their association, but
Right.
you can
I
get
mean, we
back to
also are
that.
literally living in water all the time. Like our bodies are made
Mm.
of lots of water. You
Yeah.
know, like we are water beings living on Earth, and
Yes.
then we live on a planet that the majority of it is water also, and we need water to
Mm.
survive. As I drink
Yeah.
water.
Nice. Yeah, I heard this concept the other day that the reason our bodies are sacred is because we actually can contain water, and that the water is the most sacred element. Like we can't live without it. And because our bodies can actually hold it, that's what makes us sacred. And I was like,
I love
ooh,
that.
that's powerful.
That's good. I like that.
Wow, this has been such a delightful conversation. I'm so glad to have gotten to know you better, and would love to, help my followers keep up with you. Is there anywhere that you like to hang out the most online that people can follow you?
Yeah, definitely Instagram, at Equanimous Love. I also have at Equanimous, but I haven't actually started growing that yet. Um,
Mm,
I'm like, I'm still not certain what to do with it, because I've grown everything through at Equanimous Love, but I still have at Equanimous. But I don't know. That's for another
mm,
conversation. There's part of me that sort of wants to come out and, um, there's a certain type of entity and a certain type of expression that I feel like I have in a it's sort of like this comic spiritual teacher. And
mm,
I don't I mean you can sense it just in my being as I'm like talking with you. But I don't resonate with necessarily the word like spiritual teacher, because I don't feel like I'm gonna like come out with like teachings and things. I just feel like there is a learning and a teaching in how I am sort of just being. And so I haven't actually
mhm,
figured out necessarily the digestible um, branding in that, where someone's like, oh, that's what that is. But I do
mhm.
feel like at some point I will know that. I just don't know what that is at the moment.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's kind of like
But
the
I'm calling
difference
it.
between being like the artist versus someone who just puts out, interesting information that changes people the way they think, their perspectives by hearing how you think and
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I have this
different.
whole, I have a whole kind of like, um, I have a big umbrella kind of plan. I have at High Vibe Food. I have at High Vibe Codes.
Ooh,
Of course, High Vibe Records. I have High Vibe Fest. The Equanimous Love. And so I have this sort of like, um, I have this like, again, it's sort of like the album. It's like I have this thing in me that's being built from it. I'm just sort of like working with spirit in the universe on how that's going to express itself. And I'm kind of curious to see, honestly. But for now, at Equanimous Love.
got it. Well, we'll have it all linked up in the show notes. And is there anywhere else? I guess we'll have your website and stuff linked up as
Yeah, I
well,
listen
and
to my
link to you.
music on Spotify, all that stuff. And yeah, honestly, it's great
Yes.
to connect. I really appreciate this conversation and appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.